How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Everyone is having a lovely day. So, as you know, most of us have heard at this point in time, hey, Jermaine Burton, Bengals draft him in the third round. Guy looks like he's got all the talent in the world, can be a deep threat to the quickness, the speed, his ability to go up there, get the ball, his route running ability. He's got all the tools and all the abilities in the world to be a good football player. But the reason he slid, the reason he bounced around was because of the concerns of the emotional maturity of this young man. And I'm gonna be honest, right? We've seen TJ hushmandzadeh, Dan Hoard, Jermaine Burton. They did an interview together, 30 minutes long. Look at that bad boy and I said, hey, we're gonna click on this thing, we're gonna dissect the heck out of it, or we're either gonna walk away and say, you know what, still concerned about things. You know, you can kind of see the way, obviously isn't a tell-all story, but you can kind of see the way people conduct themselves based on how they do interview, especially in a longer setting. Of course, you get the interviews and a quick press conference, you get the stereotypical answers. When you kind of conduct yourselves in a talking ball sort of situation with a couple of the pros, and TJ hushmandzadeh, of course, and then Dan Hoard being as good as he is in the podcasting and the covering the Bengals side of things there. So hey, we're gonna learn a lot about this young man. I tell you what, I was impressed. Walked into it saying, hey, this guy's got the abilities, the talent, if he can figure things out. Walked out of it feeling like, hey, this guy's got number one wide receiver for the Bengals abilities. Couple things, talked about here. Let's start off with, as everybody's talked about, the emotional maturity, the antics, the concerns, the way he plays on the field in those regards that people are concerned about with him in college football. I really like the way, because TJ, mentoring this guy, I really like the way TJ brought up where it's like, hey, I want this guy to care. You're going to have a temper. You're going to be emotional. You're going to have that sort of attitude. The thing is, you got to kind of keep it in your head. You got to harness it, as TJ referred to it, and said, you don't want to blow up on the field, because obviously if you're just going through the motions and nothing bothers you on the field, it's like us watching a game at home. Do we sit here and watch a football game at home and say, it's all right, it's 7 straight 3, and that's not a big deal, we'll be fine, No, you're upset when things aren't working right. And you want that in your players. You don't want them to be complacent and be happy, like, oh, okay, things aren't working. You want them to have that mindset, okay, things are going to change. I got to work hard. I got to do something to make things work. You want them to care. And I really love that perspective out of TJ there, and saying, hey, because that side's great. Obviously, you got to be able to, again, control that emotion, but you don't want to be flooding them emotions, those problems across the field, projecting them on the rest of your teammates, bringing down the morale, bringing down the team in those regards. And that obviously being important from TJ, for those who don't or may not be familiar with, Jermaine, TJ, they've had this, I don't want to say partnership, mentorship, where TJ is kind of taking him under his wing as a receiver. He's really trying to help grow, not as just a receiver, but as a person. And that's big because, again, something loved about what was talked about in this, when they brought up the concerns, they brought the emotions up, when Dan asked him about it, he says, no secret, and the first thing Germaine said was, hey, when guys like TJ walk up to me, I know they're going to shoot it straight with me. They're going to let me know, they're being honest with me. They're not trying to sugarcoat things. They're not trying to, twist things one way or the other. They're being completely honest with me. I'm going to take that. And I'm going to believe him. I'm going to take my responsibility, because what he's saying is probably true. And that is such a big character trait you want in a human being on your football team, to go out there at the age of 22 to say, hey, he's not wrong. If he's coming to me with these problems, they're probably true. What people are saying is probably true. I got to work on it. I can change that perception, though. And for, again, a guy at his age to come out and tell you, again, this is, don't want to get off track here, but for a guy at his age to be able to go out and instantly take that accountability, not to be able to put that on somebody else, say, oh, they're saying it wrong, or oh, it wasn't my fault. Being able to say, okay, hang on a second, let me take a step back. I want to be great. He wants me to be great. I got to listen to what he's saying. And for Germaine to kind of understand that, to have that mindset, it is so big, because, here's the thing. Sure, yeah, absolutely. Like he said, yeah, it's probably true. It's probably true exactly what he's saying. People are saying it's true. And that's going to happen. We have to remember, he was 21, he was 20, he's 20, he's 22 now. I mean, well, really, he's such a kid. He's still a kid. He's still a kid, but he's, really quickly becoming an adult. Well, when you're a child, a lot of this stuff, especially under, 20 and under, still 21 too. Like a lot of who you are as a person, it's how you grew up, how you was, the environment you grew up around. And as you get older, and you start to, present yourself around other people, other groups, and you have that ability as you're older, as he does now, to kind of surround yourself with these mentors, surround yourself with these people that are willing to help you grow, that are willing to help you, figure out those flaws, figure out those demons you may be, fighting in your head that's causing these outbursts. To be able to surround yourself with those kind of people and then say, hey, you know what? I can work on this stuff. Instead of saying, hey, you know what, I've had this problem, I'm going to continue to, surround myself with the same people or continue to try to do the same things. For me, that's huge, because that tells me he's a guy that understands his perception of people around the league, and he understands that he needs to be better. Huge for a guy that was the biggest concern entering the league. Because, when we get past that, we're already hearing like this is one of the first guys out on the field in practice. He's out there. He says, hey, I want to be out there early because I want to be prepared. I want to be ready for practice. I want to look like I'm already ready to go and like I'm warming up, getting ready to go. And, in a world in general now where sometimes you see guys cutting things short early, not practicing, not stretching early, whatever, not going through the full progressions. You want those guys out there grinding, hustling early as possible, being ready. First one's on the field, first one's off. Those are the type of players you want on your football team. Constantly prepared. They mentioned it was day one of practice. They give him you get the playbooks in the draft, whatever. And this guy was already lining up, knew the playbook like it was the back of his head. Day one out there on practice during the training camp, we should say. And again, things you want to see out of a guy that is your future, a guy that you feel like has all the talent, all the tools to be a stud in this league. And I'm excited for the guy. I'm beyond excited. I've completely bought in. 30 minutes is all it took. Completely bought in to the Jermaine Burton hype train of, again, maybe he is, maybe he isn't this team's next Jamar Chase. Time will only tell. But boy, does it look like he has the capabilities, and does he have the mindset to do it. Now, we will take a step back. And we will say, don't expect this guy to walk on the field and be perfect. You don't change. Nobody does. Not when you. It's not in a short amount of time. But it's a progressive thing where he's just not going to magically flip the switch and never be the person he was in the past. You're going to have small lapses here and there until he completely. It takes time. You got to be patient with the guy. So I'm not going to say he's going to be perfect on the field. And something you can kind of compare him to with maybe an Eli Apple, where man's going to talk a smack. He enjoys talking to smack. He's a competitive player in that regard. But from at least Eli Apple's tenure in the Bengals, he didn't disrespect nobody on this team. He was respectful as possibly can be. He talked that smack on the field, but he left it on the field. And, Germaine kind of feels like a guy like that as well. It's like even now, it's like TJ hushmandzadeh was saying, like, hey, trust me, I'm hard on this guy. I'll let him know how I feel. And he's always answered that, whether we're bickering back and forth or whatever, he's always answered that with respect. And that is ever so important, because you talk all the smack in the world. Yeah, I think that you kind of look like that with Chad Johnson. It was kind of a distraction. But at the same time, talked all the smack in the world. But for the most part, besides getting a little upset he didn't get the ball, that guy was more than respectful off the field to people. And that's what you want to see out of a player. You don't want to be too much of a distraction, but if they're going to talk that smack on the field, you still want them to respect the players. You don't want to get under their skins. It doesn't feel like he's going to be that kind of player. So I think that's very, very important. Overall, I've loved what I've heard. Loved all of it. Hopefully we can see this turn into some big numbers and a bright future for this young man. Love y'all's thoughts. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.